Welcome back here to Goldberg. Today we'll be talking about it's getting crazy and here the world's going to hell rapidly. And I expect to see more of these crash outs as the cost of living worsens and some folks consider it's a better deal, three hots than a cot. This particular story, the Ukrainian refugee stabbed, along with a recent one where the Shaniqua burst out of the car with a knife, got shot, it's galvanizing society against the brothers and sisters. But as Goldberg said, and Goldberg is always right, the people who will bear the worst of it are the Clarences and collard green cells. Whether you say it's fair or not is irrelevant. Reality doesn't sit there, oh, I'm sorry, man. That's how it's going to, especially if, as I said, things worsen financially, you're going to look for a scapegoat. And to an extent, because these stories seem to be relevant or amplified, whichever you want to claim, it's not benefiting the relative position of these individuals. It'd be nice if you could just solve the problem by going to the heart of it, but what has humanity always done? Oh, let's introduce a new policy across the board, and that's what will very likely occur. Another interesting story. So, this cute Victoria, 19 years old, met up with Burrito Scarface. She was out to get gas, and then the video they have, she was voluntarily getting into this dude's vehicle. So I don't know if she was selling ass, slinging snatch. You just ask yourself why. You know, all these dudes are out there offing, and there aren't a whole lot of super attractive, darker girls, but when you see one, it's like that should be preserved. You know, my gosh, instead of hanging out with the criminal dude, you come to Goldberg's place. You'll be compensated. You'll be alive. That's a key point. And maybe I'll get you some Popeyes for the return trip. I mean, in a way, I feel I need to be the savior, not from a simp standpoint, but create like a little Tyroneburg or Kishienta. Maybe that would steer these gals in a different direction. It's just like, remember a year or so ago that Normie went on a Tinder date with another cute Victoria and then sliced her up? What is this fixation with offing decent looking black girls, of which there aren't that many? It's a tragedy, in my opinion. Here we have the 93-year-old who RIP'd his 80-year-old wife because he was tired of taking care of her and considering a divorce. I mean, was he even entirely sentient? This is utterly bizarre. You say you don't have much longer to go, but maybe that's the key points. A lot of these folks, they can't handle walking down the final steps of existence, so they're going to try to get a cop to do it, like I said, with the Shaniqua, or maybe they figure go to prison. In that environment, someone will take care of the problem. Cowardice is a motivating factor for quite a few individuals, sadly enough. This one is making the rounds recently and kind of confusing. A cheerleader allegedly had a dead baby in a plastic bag in her closet and was trying to cover it up. The media was unclear. I thought the guy with the frizzy hair was the same as the dude in the pink shirt, even though they don't look terribly alike in those pictures. What the some are speculating is frizzy hair knocked up this chick. It was the ex-boyfriend, and she got rid of it. I don't know, because it wasn't socially acceptable, or maybe she was attempting to still have a great career. I stress that this is what young people are still doing. You might be at your wage slave job, you might be desperate for a relationship, or even a little bit of snuggles, a smash, and they are engaged in this nefarious activity, or they appear to be, I should say. Now, you go, well, she ain't that bad. She looks kind of buxom. She's a cheerleader. She's in shape. This is without the makeup. I mean, I try to be generous. I'm not one of those, oh, write them all off. But can you imagine actually simping and wanting to do everything for this particular female? And you can tell in the eyes. Again, there's no remorse. It's just like when they're caught screwing a student. Oh, what's the big deal? What are you going to do about it? Moving on, we have these stories about Second Amendment egg sperms. I generally am an absolutist when I come to gun ownership. It's hard to ignore the fact when you lay aside the troons, now they want to ban gun ownership for those, or inner city criminals. But there are some people you just go, how do you not know the cardinal rules of gun safety and you're in your 30s or 40s? I learned this stuff when I was 10 or 11 years old. And people making these dumbass decisions as though they're children. So in this case, the stepdad charged in killing 8-year-old boy. Apparently, he wanted to act like he was cool and show off his gun collection. I mean, it's very basic. Do you do the lock to the rear, check, make sure there's no mag, rack 3 times, visually inspect it? These people can't do the most fundamental of safety precautions, and they own weapons. And you shot this kid. Now, was it accidental? Did he want the kid out of the way because he just wanted more opportunities to smash the mom? I mean, I just don't, I can't exactly understand it, but it gets even better. So, this story was a dad, supposed kind of sketchy, but they were in an office building, and supposedly a buzzard got in the room. That made me wonder, just kind of some weird child sacrifice thing going on. But he's like, oh, I'm going to deal with it. So he just haphazardly, according to the testimony, waves the gun in the room, fires off some rounds to hit the buzzard, goes through the window, and dispatches his daughter. And I was like, again, where do these people come from? That you're going to go after a buzzard with a weapon and not even know what's behind it? You're accountable for every bullet that you fire. These people are, oh, well, it's just collateral damage, LOL. I don't know. There's probably more to that story, but it just makes me have a moment for pause and I say, do we need IQ tests for firearm ownership? Do we need to really put them through a battery to determine, do you have some kind of mental illness? Which mental illness could be, I don't know, you watch Fox or CNN and you follow sports ball. I hate to even slightly infringe on the concept of owning weapons because I know it's a slippery slope, but there's just so many of these people you say, I don't want to be around them. I mean, you could literally end up dead or with a brain injury because one of these clowns thinks he's being a tough guy out in public or even in his house and the round continues out, ricochets somewhere. It's absolutely ridiculous. Then we have woman accidentally goes to wrong house. Resident shoots at her 17 times and then explains why. Roman Rawicki was arrested on attempted murder and other charges. The woman told police first he grabbed her and tried to restrain her against her will. He told police she believed the woman was a sex worker and that he attacked her out of fear for his wife's safety, that he understood the woman had gone to his house mistakenly. There was a comment on MSN. It said he was afraid she was going to be a negative influence on his trad wife. It's like that's actually pretty good, to be honest. But this whole notion of fire first, there might be circumstances where it's somewhat logical, but these people are out of control. Once more, are we talking about mental illness? Are we talking about that they're just super paranoid? I don't know if in your 50s you can have already early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, but this is really questionable behavior. And it's as though these folks want the outcome where they're going to be in the judicial system. Like they're trying to, once more, they're scared of dealing with life, so they'd rather go out in that fashion. Related tale in Houston, these kids were doing the ding dong ditch where you run up and punch or kick the door. And this guy apparently was getting tired of it, so he was lying in wait and then he popped off and killed the kid. Personally, I'm not a fan of that behavior. I think it even happened at my house once because I remember I was on the other side and I just hear this like bam, bam, bam on the back door, followed by nothing else. It's not okay, a bird slammed into it because a bird's probably not going to repeatedly strike. And there was no evidence of such a creature. So what I did, just instinctually, I'm not going to run into a trap. So I made my way around the other side of the house slowly. First, of course, I armed myself and didn't see anyone. So whether that was a kid, but still, my go-to would not be firing off a bunch of rounds. Now, if you're in a American History X situation and you see the guy out there holding a gun, maybe. But a lot of these individuals, they're just bringing down, a thunderstorm on their heads because they get irritated by something. And sure, it should come down to the kids. I don't know if I've talked about this before, when I had that nut job. He wasn't even a boomer. I guess he was Biden's generation. And he kept showing up in my house, banging on the door, screaming, making threats. One time he actually entered, not that he actually broke down the door, but essentially I was preparing to leave for work, so he just waltzed in. And the only thing I had within reach was my longsword. I was like, yeah, that's going to be a bad headline. Psychopathic Care Bear runs through this poor old man. And that's another thing you have to think about. Even if you are technically in the right from a self-defense standpoint, you know that the family that doesn't care about these nutcases are going to come out of the woodwork and sue you, guaranteed. And a Goldberg that doesn't have any gold might as well not exist. When I look at this stuff, because I was considering just out of boredom picking up roadie again, maybe making some of the prescription deliveries, and those might be safe if you're dealing with a nurse, although it's no guarantee. There was a story probably 2 years back of some guy doing DoorDash in Florida, and a gangbanger, he was just a dad looking for some extra money on the side, gangbanger decapitated him. I really wonder, because there was one time I was delivering later in the evening, I couldn't see the number on the door. And so I walked up to this one house. They had the garage open, lights on. The lady was on her phone. I was like, "Are you so and so address?" She's like, "No." And so it was maybe 2 units down. But I was going, can you imagine you go to one of these places and it's a person with dementia or a paranoid cell and they just start popping off rounds at you because you don't belong here? It's so I always have a moment for pause. I'm like, do I really want to make that $7 for driving 4 miles? You might be a little safer on a college campus, but a lot of these people now, and like I said, it's going to get crazier out there because as individuals lose their jobs or they are being fed a constant diet, oh, well, look at what I'm doing right now with all these stories, they're freaking out and they're like, oh, someone's coming to get me. I better just start firing off some bullets first. It's just absolutely nonsensical. So let me know what you think. Is this just society's always been this way and now we're seeing it more because of the media, or is it actually going to worsen? I mean, clearly some of it's curated, but the headlines I'm coming across, it's not looking too good in the job market, not looking too good in terms of even the general geopolitical stability. So I'd be curious to see what are your all thoughts.